Well, here we are at the Hard Rock hallway inside the Hard Rock Stadium down in South Florida, where Florida State, no laughing matter, Florida State drops a complete heartbreaker. They dominated the first half into the second half, up 27-7, really controlling the game at both ends of the field and in special teams. And then in the span, it seemed like in about 5 minutes, Miami scored 21 points. They pull away for a 28-27 victory, and Florida State loses for the first time in South Florida since 2004.
Well, that was 14 years ago. I've never covered a loss down here. It's crazy. Even the Northern Illinois and Michigan games that were in this stadium, you know what I'm saying? Florida State doesn't lose in this building, so they found like you said, the most heartbreaking way possible to lose. You know, we say they dominated. They were dominating on the scoreboard, but the guy that used to be here talked all the time about playing the moment well. Like maybe not playing great, but playing big moments well. And that's what Florida State did. Like they were up 27-7 because of a punt return, a strip sack that they turned into points, and Terry making a great catch. But they only, I think at halftime they had 155 points or 155 yards. If they had 155 points, oh boy, I don't think Miami would have come back from that, no matter how many times they turn it over. So it was a disappointing loss because it seemed like they gave it away. I don't think Miami took it. You know, Florida State, with the 2 turnovers, if they just run it into the line 3 times and punt, I think it's hard for Miami to go score 21 points. And the crowd was out of it. But the sack, when it was 27-7, the sack fumble where they recovered, that to me obviously was the thing that turned the tide.
Yeah, and I think when I say dominated, I don't mean like offensively running up and down the field, but I mean in terms of the emotions of the game, the feel of the game, the stadium. They kind of deflated the stadium. Florida and Miami couldn't do anything offensively. I mean,
they were getting booed.
Yeah, they were getting. Mark Richt was getting booed. Miami was getting booed. They couldn't run the ball in Florida State. Florida State's defense had a ton of sacks. They made a lot of big plays, a ton of tackles behind the line of scrimmage. All the talk coming into this game was about Miami's defense. Florida State's defense really played an unbelievable first half and into the second half. And really, when Miami scored in the second half, it was the short fields. It was set up by the fumble recovery, the interception.
Right.
Which was, again, man, like I know people are going to be down on Willie Taggart after this game, but the interception that the DeAndre throws to set up their last score was a beautiful play call.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
And that was the story of the night. They also had the big controversial play, which was the double pass. It looks like Florida State hits a touchdown to stem the tide, maybe pull away. Instead, it gets called back for a double pass. That was a big topic of discussion after the game. Florida State players, obviously, and Willie Taggart thought it was a legal play.
So what explanation did you get on that illegal forward pass?
That he threw it in front of him. He threw it in front of him that he couldn't throw the ball.
What did you see in that play?
I thought it was good.
Can they review that?
Yeah, they can. He said it wouldn't. They didn't. He was in front of him. It wasn't close enough.
So did you ask for a review? Did they just?
No, they looked up there. He tell me that they're looking at it, and he says it's not.
It looks like it might have been.
I know. Trust me.
Yeah, and what's mind-boggling about it is that Willie Taggart was told they did review it. It's not even close enough to stop the game. It's not even close enough play to stop the game to see if it was an actual forward pass or not. And it wasn't. We've seen the replay. At most, it's exactly sideways, but there is no chance that ball left his hand and went forward. It just didn't. It's a touchdown that should have counted. And Willie Taggart, the ref told him, nope, it's not even close enough to review it, which is nonsense. It's just nonsensical. And now we can't say that cost them the game, but you kind of can say that, right? That puts them up by 2 touchdowns, and then Aguayo misses what would have been a huge field goal to put them up 9, and then they go right back down the field and score. You know, you look at the overall numbers, 200 yards of offense, that's 45 yards in the second half. I mean, it kind of played out like we thought it would. They were going to have a tough time moving the ball against Miami, but they did so many things right for the first 2.5 quarters that it looked like they had them, they almost put them away. And it just, you know, this offense isn't good enough. It's just not good enough to stem the tide. If a team is playing well and the guys are coming off the line of scrimmage, this offense just struggles to do much of anything. They can't block real well. The quarterback doesn't feel it really well. Willie Taggart, I wouldn't say he was harsh with Francois, but he wasn't easy on him either. Some of those sacks, he says, man, he's got to scoot up. He can't get to the back of his drop and stay there. He knows that. He's got to hitch it up, is what Willie says, and he's just not doing it.
Yeah, one of Willie's big topics after the game was that they need to start playing winning football.
Yeah.
And it's not making those kinds of mistakes. When you're up 20 points in the second half, you've got to feel that. You either got to get rid of the ball quickly or you got to run. but you can't take that sack. You can't have the fumble.
And McKitty's got to run the right route. Like
Yeah, the other
apparently
one.
he's supposed to flatten that route instead of drifting. He's supposed to be in front of that linebacker instead of drifting there. And if he does that and they make that play, it's the same play they had for like a big 25-yard gain in the first quarter. That thing, there is nobody on that side of the field. That's a 30 or 40-yard play. And when I asked Willie about it, I think we asked it, or you asked it, I don't remember. He said, "Yeah, man, they've got to learn to win football games again." And those are little things like that they still don't do great. They did enough of them against Louisville, but we saw what Louisville is. I think this could be something to build on. They get a week off. We'll see. I think that's going to dictate what this season ends up being, is how they respond from this loss.
Yeah, I think, and this is why this game's hard to reconcile, I think, because it's not as if you played terribly. Florida State played really well in the first half with that offensive line, without Landon Dickerson. They played really good pass protection. They opened some running lanes. They didn't dominate, but they held their own with what was supposed to be a great Miami defensive front. But then you have the collapse in the second half. So how do you reconcile that and move forward? Really, that's going to define the season, right?
Yeah, 100%. Like if they, last year they lost a close game to Miami too, and then just spiraled into oblivion, just spiraled into madness, essentially. We'll see how this team handles it. It was a different kind of loss, but it was still a heartbreaking last-second loss, really, a last-quarter loss when you feel like maybe you were the better team and they kind of stole it from you. I think maybe you feel that way again after this one. Last year's team didn't have nearly the mental, fortitude to bounce back and play well. We'll see what this team does. I feel different. I don't know why. I feel different about this one because I'll be honest. Coming down here, I thought they were going to lose by 3 or 4 touchdowns. I just did. I didn't see a way they would even keep it close. But they did everything they had to do to keep it close. Not only that, but take a 20-point lead. It evened out. I don't think there's much difference between these two teams. You know what I mean? Florida State played well for 2.5 quarters. Miami played well for the last quarter and a half. Florida State got screwed by a bad call that wasn't even reviewed. I think you can build on this, but it can also send you into down the drain too. That's what the challenge is for the next 2 weeks.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how Willie Taggart and his staff handle it. If they can do a better job than obviously Jimbo Fisher and his staff did in their final season. We're going to wrap it up here from South Florida. Thanks, Aslan. Check out warchant.com for continuing coverage.
They're coming. They're coming.
For his
Hurry
column,
up,
we've got a
they're
bunch of
coming.
kids coming down the hallway, so we got to go. We're out of here from South Florida. Peace.